Welcome back to the Curated Beauty Podcast. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most important topics for any leader, building your dream team. We can't do it all, right? But instead of hiring, we're going to talk about a revolutionary approach that I've adopted, casting your team, as Dan Sullivan discusses in his new book, Casting Not Hiring. The mindset shift has really changed the way I lead, and I am a student right along with you while I'm talking about this podcast. As I do with all podcast episodes, it's relevant things that are going on in my life as not only a practitioner in the medical field, a leader in functional and regenerative medicine, medical aesthetics, and really building teams and building processes to scale these teams and ultimately have the four freedoms: freedom of time, freedom of relationships, freedom of purpose, and freedom of money, which makes all of these things possible if we're being honest. So I want to share how tools like the Kolbe A Index, along with the lessons that I've learned, sometimes the hard way, have transformed our hiring process at Beauty Culture and Cultured Wellness. Before I dive in, I brought this book home from the strategic coach meeting that I recently was at. It's the best of the always quotable Dan Sullivan. And I just thought I would flip through, pick a page at random, and read the quote to you. And this is how we're going to start. Okay. Here we go. The quote is, "Being intentional means always knowing the purpose, importance, and ideal outcome of what you're doing." Wow. Okay, so there was no mistake that that was the quote that I read. I'm going to read it one more time. Being intentional means always knowing the purpose, importance, and ideal outcome of what you're doing. This actually, because I've now exercised these tools so frequently, kind of comes from the impact filter or even the fast filter. I've started to use the impact filter for a lot of different things. And it's a quick 10-minute tool to really bring a project to life by claiming the purpose, the importance, the ideal outcome, and what the success criteria looks like so that the specific result can actually be true. And how do you bring this project to life, and what does good look like? How are you painting that? So yeah, and it is also so aligned with the theme that has really been present for me so far in 2025, and something that I've claimed, which is clarity, massive clarity. And within clarity, I think that we really can talk about accountability. And part of that is looking at failures that you've, come in contact with in business and how you can use those failures to benefit you in the long haul. So let's talk a little bit about the pitfalls of traditional hiring. Let's start talking about what doesn't work when you're hiring out of either desperation or without a clear process. You risk hiring for people that just have the experience or the skill that you're looking for. This one is interesting. I talked to my business coach about this before, and it's something that reminds me of her, where she's like, "Hey, listen, when you make that decision to fire someone, you're not firing them for the skill that they lack. Typically, 9 times out of 10, you're firing them for the little things, the things that are probably based on core values and clarity." So that was really impactful for me to learn. Secondly, we are going to fall into a pitfall and hiring when you hire people that you like. I have definitely fallen into this, whether you're hiring friends or acquaintances or just people who are charismatic in the interview without objectively measuring the fit. I remember one point we were looking to expand our medical assisting team. And there was a team member who I had seen as a patient. I had appreciated kind of some entrepreneurial spirit that she had on her own on the side. And she was looking for some formality and some insurance, to be honest, and some extra income and maybe a fun way to be able to get some of her aesthetic services for free. So I remember during the hiring process, when we were looking at some of her social media, I was like, she's just so funny. I just really enjoy her. And while that's not a bad thing, if we're not checking all the other boxes and that's something that's ranking really high on why you're choosing this person, it can definitely not work out. And number 3 on this list of pitfalls would be lack of clarity about what success in the role looks like. If you don't define what good looks like, and if you don't tell someone because maybe you don't know, or maybe you don't know how to express it, it's not a strong suit of yours, you're setting both you and your new hire up for failure. And really, truthfully, in our field and many others, when you're growing fast as a new business, it's really tempting to throw someone into this open seats to keep the wheels turning, because we talk about right people, right seats all the time. If we are just looking at the seat that's empty because you're not able to pick up as much cadence because you're having to do all those things, great first mindset shift. Hire a who, not how can you do it, but who can help you. But putting the wrong person in that seat really does cost you time, money, morale of the team. I have seen it time and time again, experienced it. And as I always say, clarity is key. And also clarity is kindness. So stepping away from patient care has given me the bandwidth to really refine this process, to be more involved, because frankly, before I wasn't. And if I'm not involved and I'm the visionary for the company and I've really discovered what these core values are, et cetera, how am I employing someone else that maybe doesn't share those same things to be hiring people that are going to represent our brand? So I think that part of the process that I was potentially missing when I was trying to refine our hiring process was really assessing someone's cognitive skill. So let me back up and talk about the ancient wisdom of the three parts of the mind. This is now something that we are incorporating into our process. The three parts of the mind is a concept rooted in ancient Greece. Aristotle, Plato, it's understanding these three parts and how it can help you to make better hiring decisions. So you have the cognitive. These are your thinking skills, your head strength, someone's ability to analyze data or learn technical tasks, or just the skill that they bring to the table. For us, it might be a really proficient injector or someone who already knows a lot about functional medicine. Number two, in this kind of pie of things that are important, is the affective or the feeling. What motivates this person? I used to say, when I was just like a thirsty pre-entrepreneur, I would always say to people that I would meet that were successful, when I'd want to just pick their brain and know everything about them, like, what makes you get out of bed in the morning? And this is where personality and emotional makeup come in. Are they introverted or extroverted? If you are hiring an introvert, for example, for my patient care coordination team, and they have to talk to people all day, either they're going to drain themselves to try to fill the role that you're asking them to be in, which requires a high energy of social interaction all day, or they're going to do a really bad job. And you're probably going to end up firing them because they just don't have what it takes. So, asking questions like, are they naturally empathetic, or are they more task driven? And neither of those things are bad. It's just very crucial in terms of picking the right people for the right seat. Both of those things are so important and go together. And then there's the third one, which is the conative, or the doing. This is where the Kolbe A Index shines. It measures how someone instinctively takes action and what energizes them and how they approach problem solving. Everyone has their own modus operandi, or their MO. For example, Kolbe A Index uses 4 action modes: a fact finder, how someone gathers and processes information; follow through, this is how they're going to organize and systematize; quick start, which is how they deal with risk and uncertainty; and an implementer, which is how they handle space and tangibles. So by understanding these instincts, you can align people's strengths and the demands of their role. It's funny, we talk about MO a lot. I used to be a crime show junkie. I feel like anybody else feel like they were better back in the day, but like Murder, She Wrote, or I like that's what I grew up on. But then there's so many others, and I remember the psychological thrill part of looking at the bad guys' MO, like, why were they doing this? And that was a whole part of the story. And without that part of the story, I mean, it's just like a bad guy doing bad things. Like, uncovering the why and the background and all the things was really, really fascinating to me. So when I kind of unfold, for example, I'll share my Kolbe profile, which admittedly I took several years ago, with Heidi on our team. And she really is the person that turned me on to Dan Sullivan in general, which is the strategic coaching group that I'm part of now. And Will, her, and I, did the Kolbe and really looked at our numbers like, okay, great. You have this insights. I have this whole presentation now of all my different Kolbe measures, and I am a 5.384. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, in Fact Finder, I'm a 5. So I gather and share information by explaining and clarifying, which makes a ton of sense. It's my weekly roundup meetings. Like I process all of this information and I explain it to my team and I try to bring clarity to it. In the follow through category, I'm a 3. So these are on a scale of 1 to 10. This means that I adapt and thrive on flexibility rather than rigid systems. Frankly, I am a visionary and I'm very poor at follow through, which is why I can come up with ideas all day long. But if I don't have someone on my team complementing and implementing these things as a follow through, they're going to get lost. I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to spin my wheels. I'm going to have all these great ideas that never come to life. Now, next category, quick start. I'm an 8 out of 10. So I'm highly innovative. I'm always looking for new solutions, new opportunities. This is, obviously my highest number that I have on here, but it doesn't mean that the other ones aren't really playing into the rest of my Kolbe A Index and that they're not just as important. Implementer, it's how people handle space and intangibles. So this is a 4 for me. I'm hands-on. I love creating concrete paths to success. I love looking things up and changing them and being able to have that kind of discovery and demonstration process. So this is how this combination really helps me innovate. It helps me adapt. It's also why I need people on my team with high follow-through scores to balance me out. So really everyone gets a perfect score. But when you have this really, really crucial team already together and people with these numbers, they're not just numbers, they mean so much. And when you add someone into the mix to put in the right seat, the right person is going to complement. So the cost of getting it wrong can really sometimes, it can really get you down. Every hiring mistake, though, is a lesson. You're either winning and not losing, you're either winning or you're learning. And I think that earlier this year, I felt sure that I really had honed in on a great hiring process. We led with core values. We introduced candidates to the team. We observed their skills if they were doing some tactical things. And we really kind of made it hard to get a job with us. And yet I missed a critical piece, which is understanding their cognitive strengths. And without a tool like the Kolbe A Index, it's really easy to misalign expectations. And people might disengage because they aren't wired for the role, or you might spend months trying to fix something that was never a fit to start with. So I think that how the Kolbe A Index revolutionized our hiring and how we will move forward really is looking at how someone will take action when they're free to just be themselves. It's not about intelligence or personality, but how they work best. So for example, a high fact finder thrives on research and analysis. If I go ask them to do something, they're going to need to have all of their research in order before they move and before they start. On the other hand, a strong quick start embraces the risk and the innovation, and they just go. They don't need all the puzzle pieces to see the big picture. And, someone with high follow through, they need systems, they need structures. They can't create your vision without all of these other things that make it come to life. They're the building blocks of that visionary picture. So using Kolbe, I believe, will really help us create what I call an individual pyramid of energy. Everyone has these same 100 ergs of mental energy. We all are going to spend these ergs differently. So for me, most of my energy goes into innovation, into problem solving. For someone else, it might be creating order and following through on tasks. So this insight has not only really helped start to give me a headway on improving our hiring process, but also how we're going to onboard and support new team members. We've really realized that 90 days is such a crucial magic window. Once you've cast the right person, so to speak, onboarding is really where the magic happens. So a few key steps for this. Share the Kolbe results right up front. This helps everyone understand how they and their leader work best and where potential friction might even arise and how to avoid it. We have definitely implemented weekly one-on-one check-ins, but we even do those a little bit more frequently in the very beginning. But these conversations are really focused on what's working, what's not, and they are so crucial on keeping a finger on the pulse of what's going on in the first 90 days. And then define what good looks like. Be crystal clear about expectations, about deliverables, measurements, timelines. That 90-day probationary period is really your best window to assess fit and just ensure that they have clarity and the support to succeed. Whenever someone is not meeting my expectations, I always have to ask, have I given them the clarity of what I'm expecting? And have I given them the resources and tools to do their job appropriately? So that's something I always come back to. And it's just a really great way to even have that hard conversation and put the onus on that person too in that first 90 days so that sometimes when things are off track, you can reroute them. So a better hiring process. Here's the hiring process that we've developed incorporating Kolbe. Define the role. So I'm a big roles and responsibilities person, and that's something that I want to continue to bring clarity to this year for everyone on my team as well. Clearly outline responsibilities, expectations, and painting what done looks like or what good looks like. Number 2, core values alignment. This might need to be number 1, to be honest, because you need to ensure that the candidates align with your mission and your values. We are so clear on them. We can all spout them off super quickly. I'm wearing a hat right now, if you're watching live, that says grit. It's from the Detroit Lions, which is so sad that they lost, but they had a great season. Let's focus on the gain, not the gap. But our core values are impact, integrity, fully committed, growth mindset, and grit. I can tell you what they are immediately, and I can definitely give a really easy expectation to a new employee that if you don't embody those, core values are just who you are, then it's not going to be a good fit at all. It's almost like if you don't have these, you just can't be with us. In fact, a really good exercise when you're looking at your team is to put everyone's name down and then the core values across the other axis and really follow it down and put a plus or minus in those categories. And if you have someone that has a minus in those categories, really it's clear what needs to happen. Hopefully on the front end, you can just hire more focused on that instead of having to let people go because they're not aligned. But that is something that I have had to learn the hard way as well. Number 3 is skills and experience review. Don't ignore skills. But remember, they're just one part of the equation. So I do really like for providers to show me either a run through of a functional lab consultation or watching an injector perform a Botox injection or filler or sculpt draw or something after an assessment to see if we have alignment and to see if they're coachable in the ways that we do things differently. Number 4 will definitely be our Kolbe A assessment, identifying someone's natural instincts and how they align with this role. Number 5, team introduction. So letting them meet the team, letting them observe dynamics and fit. And also my team, each member is a strategic partner of mine. And so I really need to make sure that my team members feel bought in and like they have a say in this decision. And then 6, the trial period, or like I said, even the task, assigning a project or a task, seeing how they perform in action. And then once we've onboarded them, giving them that number 7, 90 days of onboarding and evaluation. So using these weekly check-ins, providing clarity, assessing long-term potential. So I think, in conclusion, when you're approaching hiring as casting, not just filling the seats to do a job, you're really building a team that complements your vision and drives your business forward with its own heart and soul. Tools like Kolbe A Index and systems like EOS have really been a game changer for us. They're new to us. I'm so excited to see the things that we accomplish in 2025, and I hope that they can be for you too. Let me know how you've approached hiring in your business. I would love to hear from you what worked, what hasn't, what you're going to try next. Reach out to me, send me a DM on Instagram. If you enjoy this podcast, I would love to see you like it, save it, rate the podcast, share it if it resonates with you. And I really look forward to next time where we can continue curating our best lives, our businesses, and moving forward all together.